We we yano. We yano. We yano. We yano. We yano. All right, everybody. This is Tim Corcoran here for another round of Tim Talks. I dearly, truly hope that you guys are getting something out of these things. It's one of my ways of helping to make the world better and continue sharing continuing education from Headwaters while we're closed down here with the COVID-19. This first subject, I want to entitle it Everyday Miracles, particularly in nature, but not always. And that means the importance of it is being willing and able to identify everyday miracles. Now, I grew up a Catholic boy up until about 9 years old, and we learned about miracles. It was a big deal. And miracles, how I grew up learning about miracles was that a few extraordinary people along the way did amazing things, and those were considered miracles. But we didn't really talk about, well, let me back up. And those things are miraculous, what people do. There's no question about it. There's things that people do that just defy any logic or any daily reality that we know, that set these experiences aside as true miracles. And, growing up with the Catholic religion, if someone was going to be made into a saint, there had to be proof that they were or did a miracle or many miracles. But there are another layer of miracles, what I would call daily life, and we see them a lot in nature. So just and in taking a moment to observe a miracle, to just stop and identify it as a miracle, and to let it soak in, to become part of your medicine, what happens is you become more aware. You become more engaged in the world that you live in, more an active part of it, not just an observer. And you become more willing to have miracles happen to you, which makes your life, literally, no pun intended, a miraculous life. A miraculous life. And it's really that simple. It's just simply taking the time to stop and say, hey, this is a miracle. I'm going to soak it up. I'm going to let it become a part of my medicine. It's going to live in me. And then I'm going to go on and live my life. That alone it's a miraculous thing to think that as human beings, we can even do that. So miracles in nature. As I walk through the woods, I will look at things like water. And I'll see a flowing creek, and I'll see it moving over the rocks, and I'll see it eddying, and then I'll see a pool. And as I look more deeply, I'll see fish down in the pool, and hellgrammites, and crayfish, and other things like that. And I will look at them, and they will look at me, and the water will reflect myself back onto, I'll be reflected back at myself, as I can also look through the water at these beings. And in practicing empathy, I wonder when they look back at me, what are they seeing? That is a miracle. That is a miracle. First of all, think about this. Take it to the bigger picture. When you look at the planet Earth, which is the miracle of all miracles, considering that the planet Earth is the only Earth in all the billions of planets and stars that we know of, where life can live. And that life is us and all the brethren that we share the earth with, plants, animals, trees, birds, etc. There's no miracle greater. And just taking the time to just acknowledge it brings you closer to the heart and soul of the earth. You become more of an earthling. Appreciation of it. Now, when you think about looking from space at the earth, what do you see? You see blue. You see water. And water defines life on Earth. It's the most amazing thing you could ever imagine. If there was no water, there would be no earth as we know it. If anything, there'd be very little life. Even life that lives in the dry deserts needs water, or is made up of water to some degree. And then you think, you take it to the next level, and as to the spiritual level, and you think of water as a living being unto itself, with its own unique personality. Every creek, every lake, every ocean, every beach, everywhere there's water, it has its own personality. And the individual makeup of water can actually communicate with you. Water is a living being. It has a way of living on the earth, of observing the earth, of interacting with the earth. And water equals life for all things. And if you want to just look at yourself, you could not live without water. You are water. Water is you. There. That is the miracle of all miracles. Now, you also can take time, walk through the woods and observe trees. Now, no question, they're beautiful. And it's really important to take time to really study how trees stand and reach out for the sun. And what a miracle that is, that trees can manage sunlight to help themselves grow and to provide food for all living things. And at the same time trees are managing sunlight, they're making air for all of us to breathe. And their roots, which hold them up, are digging down and growing down deeply into the soil of the earth, wrapping around rocks, soaking up water to give them life. And at the same time you look at a tree, particularly if it's an old tree, like 1,000-year-old tree, it can be the home for 1,000, sometimes 100,000 living beings. Now just stop and let that in for a minute. The tree is working with the sun to grow. It's making air. It's bringing water up through its roots. The roots are holding it up. And the tree is filled with life, some that live within it, some that come and visit, such as birds and things, some that make their nests in it. Whoa. That is a miracle. And just acknowledging that as a miracle takes your heart more deeply into the tree or into the forest, and you feel more connected. And you start to be able to understand what it's like to be a tree and experience the world from the tree's point of view. Empathy, which we've talked about a lot. The next time you think about cutting down a tree, and I'm not saying it's wrong to cut trees down, I've cut down many, but how you do it matters, and why and when. You may think differently in the future. You'll take time out to think about that individual tree and how it feels about it. Now, we can go on and on. If I look at a bird and I think, like, today I looked at a hummingbird. It's November, and I was telling it, you got to go south. It's going to be really cold here now, and it's not good for you. And I think the bird got it, and he's probably heading south right now as we speak. Part of it is I had to bring in my feeders, my hummingbird feeders, so they weren't enticed by the food. But I think that little hummingbird, about that big, is going to fly all the way through the state of California. I'm at the top. It's going to fly about 300 miles to the south. It's going to fly all the way through Mexico. And it's going to fly all the way into Central America and some to South America to spend the warm winter there and to have plenty of food to eat. And then it's going to fly back here, and miraculously, a miracle, in the spring, it will show up one day in my yard and give me the joy and the pleasure of a whole summer, spring, summer, and fall, enjoying it, flying around, eating the sap from our flowers, pollinating our flowers. Another miracle. And just to keep going here, the fact that I have two eyeballs that can look at that bird, and the fact that I have a brain that can allow me to appreciate it, and the fact that I have a heart big enough that I want to make sure that bird's okay in its journey. Think about what a little bird like that has to go through flying 1,000 miles. Can you even imagine? So there's miracles everywhere. I think probably one of the most powerful of all miracles I know of is gravity. I can't scientifically even explain it to you, but I know if we didn't have it, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be up there somewhere. I'd have to tie myself in. We would not be able to live as we know how. Gravity. It's here. It's happening. It works. And why did it show up? Why is it here? It's not on many, or if any other planets that I know of, but it's on our Earth. That's a miracle. Looking into a mirror or into a creek and reflecting your picture back at you of yourself, that's a miracle. So when you start, when you start to acknowledge miracles, more show up, more show up, more show up, and your life becomes more miraculous. You start to believe that anything is possible. You start to have more appreciation in your life for the world around you. You slow down. You start to take in beauty more, which fills you with beauty, and you become beauty yourself. You start to participate more in the world on a daily basis, if not a momentary basis. Instead of just being a person taking up space, you become an active, integral part of the process of life on earth known as living. You become a living being that's a part of the whole. And then, because you're looking at things from a miraculous point of view and your heart is opening, you become a person. You can't help it. You become a person who makes the world a better place. You get involved. You become of service. You find yourself more peaceful. You find yourself more loving. You find yourself more kind. And this, we could talk for hours on this. It's endless. As I'm just sitting here talking to you, I'm looking over just behind the camera, and there's a little oak tree. And I'm thinking, it's probably 2 inches tall, and there's one next to me. And I've noticed this year they've been showing up all around in here. And we don't have an oak forest right here on this land. It's about a half a mile away as an oak forest. So it means birds are carrying the acorns from the oak trees, the seeds, over here to our land, or squirrels are, and they're planting them into the ground, and they're sprouting up. And for that oak tree that's now about an inch to become 10 feet tall, it might take 50 years. It might take 100 years for it to be 20 feet tall. That is a miracle. And then when that tree matures, it puts out acorns that feed every living thing in the forest. Birds, animals, etc. Think about this. If it's a hot, hot day and I'm out and I need shade and that oak tree's providing it and it calls me through the way it looks, and I go lay under the tree in the shade and I feel better, that is a miracle. And then if I quiet myself and I hear a creek moving over the rocks and the sound of it's like a symphony, that is a miracle. And then I feel like I'm still hot and I go jump in the creek and let the water come all around me and into me. That is a miracle. Now, you might say, well, if you say all these things are miracles, it kind of negates the huge, miraculous, life-transcending experiences that I learned about as miracles when I was young and growing up in the Catholic Church. No, there's room for it all. In shamanism, which is earth spirituality, we have a term. There are no limits. Anything is possible. Complete and total abundance. That means you don't think in a way that says, well, if that's a miracle, the energy of it must run out, or it's not as powerful if that's a miracle and that's a miracle and that's a miracle. Why not? Why can't there be hundreds of thousands of them? Why can't we be miracles? I mean, the last thing I'll say on this talk, and I hope it inspires you to find your own miracles, whatever they are to you, is when I started learning about human anatomy and how the organs of the human body work in the outer, the skin, and our eyes and our hair grows, and all the living things that live within us, good and bad, and how we heal when we're in trouble and how our body comes to our rescue, that is a miracle beyond words. Mind-blowing miracle. So live in a life that allows for miracles to happen. Identify them from the smallest, simplest little things to the biggest, largest things. This camera is a miracle. Me talking to you over the airwaves, that's a miracle. Allow yourself to live a life full of miracles, and your life will become more miraculous. You'll have more fun, more joy, more connection. You'll be inspired. Your brain will work better. Your creativity will work better. You'll become a human that is a force for good. And that's what we need right now. Human beings that take their life seriously and that make the world better by the way they live, and then even take it to higher levels by choosing a type of life, a type of way of living that makes the world better for all living beings. Miracles can be one of the great guides for that. It's like Christmas every day. You get a present, hundreds of presents, thousands every day. They're called miracles. So you are a miracle. I'm a miracle, and it's okay to say it. Enjoy the journey, the miraculous, miracle-filled world. Enjoy it. Oh, this is a song to the California grizzly bear. We, hayano, hayano.